All right. Welcome everybody to the Water Conservation Workshop. Who are we? Well, my name is Mark Warren. I am currently the Interim Water Superintendent and Environmental Compliance Manager for the Westford Water Department.
And my name is Rohita Krishnakumar. I'm a rising junior at Westford Academy and an ambassador Girl Scout in Westford. I'm currently pursuing my Girl Scout Gold Award by doing this project on Westford water conservation and raising awareness about water restrictions in Westford and what you can do at home to save water. And I'm going to let Mr. Warren take it away from here, and I hope that you find this presentation helpful.
All right. What makes up the Westford Water Department? Well, we have two water treatment plants. We use a technology called green sand filtration. It's very common for iron and manganese removal. Each plant can process roughly 3 million gallons of water per day. We also have 9 groundwater wells and well fields, 5 water storage tanks with 5.28 million gallons of storage. We have 2 booster pump stations, 139 miles of water main, 1,100 fire hydrants, approximately 5,300 water service connections, and we serve approximately 18,000 people, or roughly 75% of town. All right, let's quickly talk about 2020 statistics of water usage in Westford. So in 2020, we produced 569 million gallons of water. And as you can see by the below numbers, a majority of that was used for residential purposes. And this 436 million gallons represents roughly 76% of the water produced. And to the commercial usage is, as you can see, a smaller number. So a lot of residential usage in 2020. All right, the highest monthly usage in 2020 was in June. We pumped 75 million gallons of water. And as you can imagine, the lowest monthly usage was in February, where we produced 30 million gallons of water. The highest daily usage of water in 2020 was June 22nd, and we produced 3.3 million gallons of water. So as you can see, that 5.28 million gallons of storage really isn't a whole lot. All right, these are 2 important numbers. Unaccounted for water. The State Department of Environmental Protection has a standard of 10%. So they want public water suppliers to have less than 10% of unaccounted for water. And as you can see in 2020, we had 38 million gallons of unaccounted for water, and that amounts to 7.6%. That's a little high for us, but as you can see, it is below the 10% standard. Here's another statistic that the state relies on. It's a water conservation standard. And what the state would like is to meet a standard of 65 gallons per day for residential gallons per capita day usage. And in 2020, unfortunately, we exceeded that number at 70 gallons. But that's very understandable, as we were in the midst of the COVID pandemic and a lot of people were home. So we had more residential usage. But this is an important number. All right, let's talk about how to calculate your usage. So what you want to do is take a look at your water bill, and I drew a red circle around this person's usage, and it's 3,600 gallons. So that's the first thing you want to do, determine your usage. And these water bills are submitted on a quarterly basis, so they represent 3 months of usage. Then you want to convert that number from cubic feet to gallons. And you divide that number by the days in a quarter, which is approximately 90 days, and then you divide by the number of household members. So let's take a look at this example. So in this example, this family used 3,600 cubic feet in this quarter. So it's 3,600 times 7.48, which is your conversion factor from cubic feet to gallons, and we get 26,928 gallons. So the next step is we divide that number by 90 days in the quarter. We get 299 gallons per day. And we divide that number by the amount of people in this family, which is 5. So it turns out their number of residential gallons per usage per day is 60. So that does meet the standard of 65. So this family is efficient at using water, is conserving water. All right, so part of being efficient and conserving water is making sure you don't have leaks. So how do you check your meter for leaks? The first thing you want to do is locate your meter, and it's typically in a basement or a utility room, somewhere where it's warm so it doesn't freeze. And currently we have two types of meters in use. One is an older analog meter with a sweep hand, and the other one is a digital e-coder meter. All right, so how to check your analog meter for leaks. The first thing you want to do is make sure that there's no water in use at the time of checking for leaks. Make sure that no one's taking a shower or flushing a toilet or washing clothes. No water in use at all. And then what you want to do is take a look at this small red triangle. And if that small red triangle is spinning, then that means that water is passing through the meter, and that means that there is a leak, since you know that no water is being used, yet water is going through the meter. So that's one way to check for leaks. It's very similar for the e-coder type of meter, but what you want to do in this case is, since there's no analog devices, you want to take a flashlight or like the flashlight from your cell phone, and you want to point it into that little circle that's surrounded by the bigger red circle. And what that will do is that will light up the digital reading. And again, if you know that nobody is using water in the house and those numbers are changing, that means that water is passing through the meter and you most likely have a leak. Toilets are notorious for causing leaks. Many times you can't hear them, but they are leaking a lot of water. So an easy way to check for toilet leaks is to pick up a free toilet tab from the water department, or you can substitute food coloring. What you want to do is put this tablet or the food coloring in the tank of the toilet and then wait for 15 minutes. You want to look for a color change in the bowl. If you do see a color change, that toilet is leaking, and that's something that you want to get fixed right away. All right, Westford water restrictions. Why do we have them? Well, obviously we have them so that we can maintain a sufficient supply of drinking water for domestic and commercial use. We also will institute water use restrictions based on our Water Management Act permit requirements. We also want to maintain enough water for fire protection, and because it is in fact a shared and limited resource. When do we institute restrictions? There can be many different reasons. For example, the state makes a drought declaration. That may mean that we have to institute restrictions. We have high demand and we have to control that, so we might institute restrictions. And again, Water Management Act permit requirements may require us to institute restrictions. All right, what is the Water Management Act permit? Well, public water supplies in Massachusetts are regulated by the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection. And what they do is they'll issue either a permit or registration. But I won't get into the differences between those two right now, so we'll just talk about the permits. These permits will determine how much water that a public water supplier like the Westford Water Department can take out of the ground or take out of a source on a daily basis. And this permit will say that we have to meet certain standards like the unaccounted for water standard or the residential gallons per capita day standard. The permit will also list certain triggers like maybe local stream flow or drought conditions that if these triggers are met, then we'll have to institute water use restrictions. Let's talk quickly about essential versus non-essential water usage. All right, so essential water usage is actually exempt from outdoor water use restrictions. Any water that's used to grow food or plants that are used for fiber purposes are exempt from these restrictions. So if you're growing tomatoes, you can water those tomatoes. If the water use is part of core business function, or it's used to maintain livestock, or if it's used for a regulatory purpose, or for health and safety, those are considered essential water usages, and they are in fact exempt from restrictions. Non-essential usages include things like lawn irrigation, filling a pool, car washing, or washing of exterior building surfaces or pavement. So there are some exceptions to these, and if you want more information, I would encourage you to visit the Westford Water Department website. All right, we do ask that folks follow our outdoor water use restrictions. And here's what they are. So level 1 is voluntary, and it's an odd even schedule. And we ask that you water between 6 p.m. and 9 a.m. So either in the evening or the morning. And if you live in an odd numbered house, water on an odd numbered day. And if you live in an even numbered house, obviously water on an even numbered day. So the level 2, it's the same schedule. However, it's mandatory. So if we are experiencing a drought, or if we're having difficulty meeting demand, we might institute these level 2 mandatory restrictions. So level 3 is essentially an all-out, basically an all-out water ban where non-essential outdoor watering is prohibited. So why do we institute the odd even schedule? That's a relatively common question. We do that to allow us to control demand. It spreads out usage and it allows us to ensure that we have enough water available. So let's get into landscaping. And before we get into this, I just want to say that I am definitely not a landscaper. I'm not a professional in this capacity, but we do have some decent tips to talk about and things that can hopefully allow you to have a nice healthy lawn and conserve water. And another thing I wanted to say is that the Westford Water Department is not against watering or healthy lawns. But, water obviously is a shared resource. It's limited and it's a critical resource. So we have to balance landscaping with conservation. All right, so can I have a nice lawn and conserve water? The answer is yes, you can, but it will take planning and research and effort. And if you don't feel like doing that, then what you need to do is find the right contractor. All right, let's talk about this concept of evapotranspiration because it's very important in landscaping and water conservation. It's essentially the total of water lost to the atmosphere due to evaporation and transpiration. Now, evaporation is pretty basic. It's what happens to liquid water when it warms up, it turns to vapor and rises into the atmosphere. High school chemistry. Transpiration is a little bit different. It involves plants. Essentially, water is pulled up from the ground by the plants through the roots into the stems and out of the leaves. It's actually been called or referred to as plant sweating. It's roughly the same concept of evaporation, but in this case, plants are used. Higher evapotranspiration rates can be achieved with stronger sunlight, as you get deeper into the summer, stronger solar radiation, higher temperatures, high wind, and low humidity. So those are the things that raise your ET rates. All right, key points of evapotranspiration. The evapotranspiration rate will change throughout the season, and you want to water accordingly. So essentially in the spring, when it's cooler and the solar radiation is lower and temperatures are lower, you really don't need to water at the same rate you need to water in the middle of the season when it's hot out and it's drier and the sun is stronger. However, some folks tend to water at the same rate throughout the entire season. It's more like a bell curve. So what you want to do is water less in the spring. You want to water more in the middle of summer and then less in the fall. It's kind of a generalization and a simplification, but that's essentially what I'm trying to get across. And here's a very important one. You want to water when evapotranspiration rates are the lowest, which is the evening and the morning. And that's what we incorporate into our outdoor water use restrictions. We don't just, put those times in there for no reason. It's just that in the evening, in the morning, you're going to get more water into the ground and you're going to lose less of it by evaporation and transpiration. So that's why we incorporate those times into our outdoor water use restrictions. So evening and morning are the best time to water to reduce that. Save money in water. Water when evapotranspiration rates are the lowest, morning and evening. All right, ways to reduce irrigation while maintaining a healthy lawn. Mow wisely, you must, says Yoda. All right, keep your blades sharp. Dull mower blades can increase water use by delaying the healing of open cuts in grass. You want to cut at a higher length as summer progresses to promote root length and access to water. grass species or a product is important. You want to choose a species with high water use efficiency. However, keep in mind that low water usage does not necessarily translate into drought resistance, okay? So think about purchasing something that is not only uses less water, but is drought resistant, like a Zoysia or Pearls Premium. And I mentioned those in this presentation because those are two products I'm familiar with, but there are many other drought resistant, low water use products out there, and I encourage you to investigate them. All right, keep your roots happy. Deep roots may even be a more important factor than evapotranspiration. The deeper, the better. Acidic soil can inhibit root growth. So if you have a lot of pine trees, you might want to consider adding lime. Excessive thatch can be a problem with root development, and not enough topsoil or poor quality topsoil can also inhibit root development. Save money and water. Water when evapotranspiration rates are the lowest. Excuse me. All right. More keeping your roots happy. Overwatering is bad. Not only are you wasting water and not conserving water and costing yourself a lot of money, but it tends to promote shorter root depth, which makes your grass more susceptible to drought. Close mowing is definitely not good for promoting root depth. So you want to consider, again, mowing at a higher length in the summer. Excess nitrogen fertilization tends to promote leaf growth and evapotranspiration and also reduces root depth. Soil compaction, which can be caused by overwatering, is also an issue and can reduce the amount of water that gets into your roots. All right, fertilizer and herbicide application. You want to try to minimize application of nitrogen fertilizer, which again promotes the leaf growth and reduces root depth and will increase your need to irrigate. And as far as herbicides go, some herbicides have a greater impact to roots than others. Know your soil type. Sandy soil will hold less water. Compacted soils will infiltrate less water and create more runoff. Heavier soils containing organic material will hold more water and are generally considered, better types of soil for growing grass. All right, reduce waste. Irrigate during calm periods like early morning. You want to have more uniform distribution across your lawn and less non-targeted watering. Don't water the driveway. Everyone sees that. They'll see like a broken sprinkler head or at least pointing in the wrong direction, and you're watering your driveway or your walkway, and it's a complete waste of money, obviously, in water. You want to make sure that your system avoids impervious surfaces, and you want to adjust as necessary. That leads to an important point. You want to maintain your irrigation system and repair leaks as soon as possible, because they will leak over time. Save money and water. Water when evapotranspiration rates are the lowest, morning and evening. This is the third time I've repeated it because it's an important fact. All right, water more or less often. This is also very important. You want to water deeply to recharge the plant available soil moisture pool. Okay, you want your soil wet to the maximum rooting depth. You want to allow for mild drought stress to promote deeper rooting and drought resistance. Overwatering tends to inhibit deeper roots. It decreases drought resistance and can promote disease and soil compaction. And once you get a lot of soil compaction, then that leads to less water getting into your roots. Get water to those roots. A lot about roots. If you have a low soil infiltration issue, you want to take care of that. And again, soil compaction, thatch, hydrophobic soils can lead to low soil infiltration. Things like soil compaction can be dealt with by aerators. Thatch can be removed with thatching rakes that you can either use by hand or you can attach to the back of a tractor. Consider watering using shorter cycles. Consider watering using short cycles instead of applying all at once. What that does, if you say you do like a 3-cycle watering system, that first watering will sort of break down surface tension in the grass or in the soil and allow the second cycles to infiltrate deeper. And again, you want to water during calm periods for uniform application. Some more irrigation tips. Consider using an irrigation system with the multiple cycles, the short repeated cycle, 2 or 3 cycles. Again, that will allow for better infiltration, reduce runoff, and stormwater and waste, and prevent erosion. And again, what you want to do is you want to get water into the ground. You don't want water to run off because that is not doing you any good. Invest in your system. Consider maybe installing an ET sensor, which they're pretty sophisticated. You could also install a moisture or precipitation sensor. And you want to use a programmable irrigation controller, so you can program it not only to to irrigate at certain times, and when it's not raining out, you don't want your irrigation system running. And also you want to be able to program it to meet the Westford Water Department outdoor water use restrictions. Okay, an Evapotranspiration Controller. It's essentially a controller linked to a computer that collects data from either a weather station, and it can be a weather station that's nearby, or can actually be a weather station that you purchase and put on attached to your house or into your yard. And it will measure things like wind speed, temperature, and relative humidity. And it'll make adjustments to irrigation based on the local evapotranspiration conditions, and that will vastly improve irrigation efficiency. Okay, so here's a quiz. How do I save money and water? Water during the hottest time of the day, water during the highest evapotranspiration rates, water during a rainstorm, or water when evapotranspiration rates are the lowest, in the morning and the evening. Excellent answer. Save money and water. D is correct. You want to water when evapotranspiration rates are lowest. So either in the morning before 9 or the evening after 6. Again, that coincides with our outdoor water use restrictions. So again, I'm not a landscape professional, and if you want to learn more, the UMass Extension Best Management Practices for Lawn and Landscape Turf is an excellent resource. I put the website down here, ag.umass.edu/turf. And not only is there great information on irrigation and water management, but all sorts of other things associated with landscape management. All right, everyday water use. So the average US household, indoor use accounts for a lot, 70%. Outdoor usage is also a big number. Irrigation is probably the biggest outdoor usage, but there's also car washing, pressure washing, pool filling, things like that. And that number, 30%, probably does grow dramatically during the summer. But overall, most water is used indoors. And here's some percentages for normal indoor water usage. And you can see here, toilets are a big user, and they tend also to leak a lot. So that's something you want to consider and be aware of. Waste can be expensive. A tiny 1/16-inch hole in a 60 PSI line over a year can waste over 300,000 gallons of water and cost you $1,700. A leaking toilet at ½ a gallon per minute over a year can use more than 260,000 gallons per year and cost you $1,400. Here's some more examples. A garden hose left on by accident for a day at 10 gallons per minute, that's 14,400 gallons. It's only $80, but still it's money that could be spent elsewhere, and it's still a lot of water. If you want to get more information on calculating leaks, go to the drip calculator at drinktap.org, which is part of American Water Works. All right, what can I do? Excellent question. Shorter showers, very basic and common sense. You can start by just taking a few minutes off your shower every day and just minimize that to a degree. You'll save a lot of water over time. Stop watering. Stop the water when you lather up. So rinse yourself off, lather up, turn the water off, and when you're ready for your final rinse, turn the water back on. It'll save some water. An easy thing to do. Stop water when brushing your teeth. When I was a kid, would turn on the water, brush our teeth, rinse out, and then turn the water off. The water will be running the whole time. It's a huge waste of water. So when you're brushing your teeth, rinse out your mouth, turn the water off, brush your teeth. When you're ready to rinse again, turn the water back on. This one needs no explanation. If it's yellow, let it mellow. If it's brown, flush it down. Of course, this is up to your personal taste. Don't use the toilet for a trash can. Every time you flush that toilet, you're losing water. And it's drinking water, actually. Consider only washing with clothes and dishes with full loads. It's much more efficient. Believe it or not, washing dishes, using a dishwater tends to use less water than washing by hand. And you can see here, an energy efficient dishwasher, you use between 3 and 10 gallons of water versus 20 to 27 gallons washing by hand. So if you're trying to convince someone to buy a dishwasher, you can use this statistic. Dishwashers are more efficient, use less water. Consider buying water efficient appliances, low flow toilets. Older models use up to 5 or 6 gallons per flush. The newer models anywhere from between 1.28 to 1.6 gallons per flush. And you can even buy toilets with 2 flush modes, one for liquids and one for solids. High efficiency washers are pretty common now. They use between 15 and 30 gallons per load, whereas the older traditional washers would use anywhere from 29 to 45 gallons per load. So considerable savings over time. Consider installing water saving devices, low flow shower heads, low flow faucet aerators, very simple to install, and you'll save water and money. Fix leaks. I know it's easy just to let them go. You think, oh, it's just a small leak, but over time, it can add up to a lot of water loss and even a lot of money. Irrigate wisely and have an irrigation system, and it'll keep the dogs off your yard too. Want to learn more? An excellent resource is the EPA Watersense website. All kinds of information regarding water efficiency, how we use water, how to calculate your usage, availability of Watersense labeled products, and much more. Thank you very much. I appreciate you listening to this presentation, and if you ever have any questions, please feel free to contact me, Mark Warren, at the Westford Water Department, and I'd be happy to answer your questions. Thanks again. Have a great night.